All right, everyone. So this term Super El Nino has been thrown around quite a bit over the past couple of weeks, and we do have indications that we could be going into a Super El Nino event heading into the winter of 2026 and 2027. So what exactly is a Super El Nino, and how has it impacted us here in Western Washington in the past? Well, let's get into that right here. First, I wanted to show you this run of the European. This is the forecasted sea surface temperature anomalies across the Central Pacific. And what you're seeing is different runs of that European model, starting off late March into April and then extending through the end of the year. And that's when you start to see a bit more of a spread. But these are all, again, a forecast of those sea temperature anomalies. And when we're talking about El Nino, you got to reach a threshold of 0.5 degrees Celsius or more or warmer than average across those waters. And well, that would be down here because each one of these numbers are in degrees Celsius. 1, 2, 3. Well, 0.5 would be down here. And you can see all of those red lines, those spaghetti plots, are exceeding that number. So it's pretty much a given that we're going to have an El Nino. But when we're talking Super El Nino, essentially all it means is that we reach a higher threshold. We see those sea surface temperatures warmer than average by 2 degrees Celsius or more. And you can see a lot of those lines are also exceeding that thick red line. All right, another graphical look of how things will be shaping up later into the year. This is the European still, and you can see that warm nose of water across the Central Pacific. And this right here is where El Nino really starts to get going, because it really starts to get that subtropical jet stream up and going and ramped up. And it's down here where you have some of the warmer temperatures across those waters. Makes it easier for that water to evaporate, head into the atmosphere, and for those storms to tap into that and eventually throw down heavier precipitation. We'll get into that here in a bit, but first, again, recap: 0.5 degrees Celsius or more or warmer. You need that for an El Nino, and for us here across the Pacific Northwest, it typically means that we see higher chances of warmer and drier than normal conditions. Again, the key word being typically. That's what usually happens. But let's take a look at what just happened. A La Nina pattern, which would usually, again, not always, usually bring colder and wetter than normal conditions. Really didn't see that this year, but it does have a highly amplified jet stream, allowing some of that colder air to come in from the north. With an El Nino, you get more of a west to east flow, more of a zonal flow. And so down here, the subtropical jet stream really gets going, and it produces a lot more of that rain across the southern tier of the United States. So things are wetter than normal there, while again, up this way, we are going to see more of that zonal flow, and that brings more of that air mass off of the water, which would be a warmer air mass in comparison to what we would get coming in from the north from our friends in Canada, which would keep us quite a bit colder. But again, all of this is just what typically happens. I wanted to show you what has happened the past 2 Super El Nino events for us here into Western Washington. Some of these stats right here, these are actually for the years, the winter of 2015 through 2016, and also the winter of 2023 into 2024. We're going to talk about temperatures as well as precipitation. And we're talking about meteorological winter, which is between December through February. And so when we take all of that in consideration right here, the average temperature usually during that stretch of time, when you factor in all the highs and the lows, is 42.9 degrees during those 3 months. Now, for the winter of 2015 and 2016, we were warmer than average. We were up around 44.6 degrees, which is up above normal by about 1.71 degrees. While looking at the precipitation, that was quite a bit more than where we should normally be. And again, we typically, during an El Nino year and an El Nino winter, are drier than normal. And we were above that number. We ran a surplus of close to 10 inches of precipitation. Now, the winter of 2023 into 2024, again, another warmer than average winter for us. Not as much, but just under a degree warmer, while you can see the precipitation once again ran above normal. Not as much or as high above normal when it comes to the amount of rain, but it did bring us a wetter than average 3 months in winter during that stretch between December into February. And we still have some time. We've been talking about the Super El Nino. This is a model's depiction, the Europeans, of what we're expecting towards the end of the year. And at the same time, too, there are other models that are not quite as extreme when it's talking about those sea surface temperature anomalies. But just one more thing to point out, just like you can see these numbers right here, and what we just dealt with La Nina, which was typically and should usually be a colder and wetter period for us. We really did not see much snowpack at all. So Just comes to show you that when we're talking about weather, it doesn't always play out to the averages.